when you integrate this really nicely, you can really get closer to understanding the total cost of ownership, because now you know what it takes to build this system, what
Yeah.
it takes to manage and maintain this system, and
Yeah.
at a long run, what are the key components, key resources, key people I'll need to keep it running and
Yeah.
keep building.
Yeah, no, very interesting. I'm loving this conversation. It feels like we're putting jigsaw pieces, puzzle pieces together, right? And now it really feels the picture is complete. Hello and welcome. Today's topic of discussion is need to rethink your data strategy. My name is Bharat, and with me I have Rishikesh. Being part of niche and boutique all-in data consulting company, we get opportunities to discuss various topics with data leaders, data officers globally. And I must say, some of those discussions bring out a lot of insights. Today's topic, need to rethink your data strategy, is one of those topics. So let me get started, Rishi, by bringing out this obvious question. What is the need to rethink your data strategy? Why organizations today are going back to the drawing board and saying, I need to figure this out?
Yeah, embracing AI and Gen AI has become almost a strategic imperative for most of the organizations globally, right? And it all starts with a POC, where you want to build a proof of concept to prove that there's a use case that you can build around, right? Now, interestingly, how many of these POCs actually see the light, actually go to production, right? Interestingly, the stats say almost 70 to 80% of these POCs never see the light, right? Today, with all this AI and Gen AI coming up, and with data being generated like crazy every day, data is no more luxury, right? It's a necessity for any organization to actually compete and scale, right? So that's one of the key important factors.
Yeah. And it's interesting what you say. So what you're saying is everybody agrees that they will need to get on a bandwagon of AI and Gen AI, and yet they're not able to bring those projects, initiatives to the production or live cases. We did the roundtables last month, one in London and one in Dubai, and we had really senior data officers in both the discussions. And when we brought up this point of why these initiatives fail, and if you recall, there were a lot of insights which came out. And I'm going to just refer to my notes here and just kind of summarize, because I think it's going to be very important to bring out those points here. So most of the people said the initiatives fail largely because three areas, right? Number one is misalignment with the business strategy. And what that really says is excitement within the organizations, bring in the AI technologies, Gen AI technologies in the departments. They run some POCs, as you were saying, but they are not aligned with the business KPIs, business goals. So they have no way to measure the success. And because of that, they're not able to champion those initiatives within the organization. The second is the hurdles which are related to operations and technology or infrastructure, right? And I think that it has a lot of things in it, but to just call out a couple of things. One is the infrastructure. Second is the competencies and capabilities. Could be security. All those are operational challenges at the end. And the third one, which is our favorite, right? The data challenges. And I would let you kind of peel the layers of this huge area, data challenges.
Yeah. Bharat, after having discussions with multiple customers, right, and getting a inside view of what's the main challenges, especially on the data side, right? Broadly, I can pinpoint it to 5 key challenges, right? The first challenge that we see is data integration. Right? The data today resides in silos. There's data in your legacy systems. There's data coming from your newly built SaaS applications. And then there's data residing at different business units. So having a unified view, that's the first and foremost challenge, right? The second challenge that we see, and that comes up is the data quality and trust, right? For any AI, it is important that the data quality is in place and you trust the data, because we all say garbage in, garbage out,
Yeah.
right? The third one that comes up, and it's pretty obvious, is with all these compliances coming into play around data governance becomes very, very important,
Yeah.
right? And organizations are struggling to actually govern their data, right? And we are talking about responsible AI and all these things. Data governance becomes key.
Mhm.
Now, these are three key technology challenges. The fourth tech challenge or data challenge comes in is because of all this massive explosion of generation of data, and then the race to implement AI. There are multiple tools that are now are available, multiple tools, multiple platforms in the market,
Yeah.
right? And it's impossible to choose between them. If you choose something today that works out for you, very soon, within maybe 12 to 18 months, you might start feeling that that's not the right tool,
Yeah.
right? So it's crazy. It's spaghetti of tools available
Yeah.
out there in market, and choosing the right one becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And all these four leads down to the fifth and very most important challenge: the total cost of ownership.
Mhm.
Right? You have all these tools in place. Then you have the teams that are needed to implement these tools, and then you have the infrastructure, as you mentioned, that is in place.
Yeah.
Right? Customers or organizations really are trying to figure out what is my total cost of ownership
Yeah.
when it comes to embracing AI, when it comes to data,
Yeah.
right? And I feel broadly these are the five main key challenges that we see today.
Yeah. No, very true. And I think, as you're saying, Rishi, these challenges, one thing keeps in my mind, and it bothers me a lot, that, if you really look at it, there are three players here, right? One is the organization who wants to become data centric.
Yeah.
They want to drive the data initiatives. There are technology vendors today and the plethora of technologies out there, as you said. So technology vendors are there. They want to make business. They want to sell their technologies.
Yeah.
And then there are implementers, system integrators,
Yes.
who want to implement those projects. And in many ways, is a co-ownership, co-accountability, I would say, of all these three parties to make it a success.
Yes.
And of course, from customer perspective, we all always say that more the clarity, the better. If you really understand what you really want to achieve, is it aligned with business goals and all that we talk about, that's great. But I want to bring out the accountability aspect when it comes to the technology vendors and the system integrators.
Yeah.
You come from the background of being in a system integrator. I come from a background of being a technology vendor. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So with all these tools coming into play, all these platforms that are available today, technology per se is no more a challenge, right? In fact, it is empowering, all these technology vendors, consultants, SIs to do more, right?
Yeah.
And with great power comes great responsibility, they say, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that SIs and technology consulting firms actually look at how they can provide more value, right, to the organizations, because at the end of the day, if you're working with enterprises today, the economy is it's all about value creation.
Yeah.
Right? And after 3 years, if you're looking at a data and engineering program or an AI program for about 3 to 5 years, you need to have a very broad spectrum. You cannot be very tactical today, and
Yeah.
that's the responsibility vendors have, or the technology teams have today, to
Yeah.
think strategically and no more think tactically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And, from my perspective, I feel it's changing, right? Today, now organizations are going more for purpose-built approach, purpose-built consulting, instead of having that blanket platform play.
Yes.
Best of breed technologies, niche boutique implementers who know their game very well, and I think those components really make the difference.
Yep.
And to that point, you talked about some of the challenges, right? And at the same time, I think there are also organizations out there who inspire us.
Yeah.
They lead the way with innovation. We have some of the clients who have really crossed that barrier
Yeah.
and have become truly a data-driven organization, be it to drive their customer-centric use cases, or be it how do I become excellent from my operation standpoint, or how do I gain competitive advantage. Doesn't matter what business outcome you're looking at. These organizations have figured out how the data platforms and data sets are going to fuel those initiatives and use cases. You've been part of one of such customer discussions and deployments. Would you like to talk a little bit more about the approach, what has worked well for them?
Yeah. Definitely. So, if I want to take an example, right, for one of our big fiber-based customers, right, I think one of the key things that they did from day one, they knew this is a long-term initiative. They were not there to have small victories. They were there to think big, go long-term, right? Uh, Three stakeholders as we're talking about, right? The business stakeholder, who's going to sponsor, who's looking at outcomes of a data program or an AI program. The second one, who the stakeholders like the vendors and SIs are going to actually implement that program. And third is the consumer. All three were considered while building the data strategy, while building the AI strategy, right? And inputs were taken at the right time from all these three key personas, I would say, right? And with everybody on same page, I think the effort was we build a very strong foundation, right? When we talk about the unification of the data, right? And data coming from multiple systems, they really wanted to make sure that all these three stakeholders get a unified view, which is very, very important, because once you do that, there is automation that you can build, and maybe we'll deep dive into that as we move along to trust the data, right? So the program itself was built with foundational fundamentals in place, right? We spent some amount of time actually to make sure the foundational framework for AI is in place, right? So POC for these use cases actually started after the framework was in place. So some of these things, especially thinking long term, when you are doing POCs, having all these three key stakeholders alignment in place really played an important role. And then choosing the right tool, right? Choosing the right platform. And when I say choosing the right platform, again, not thinking very tactically, but thinking in terms of cost, in terms of total cost of ownership, in terms of how things will integrate, right from getting data from different sources to moving it to a unified view, to then building the whole trust, and getting it ready for consumption, right? So I think thinking at a foundational level was very, very key.
Interesting. So you touched upon a lot of things, and I'm going to unpack a little bit, right? So it becomes easy to digest and process. So first of all, I think what you're saying is have that strategic intent, not be tactical and have just a short game. And at the same time, you need to plan those quick wins along the way to keep the momentum going, keep parties excited, keep the funding going. So that is the first part of it. The second part of it, I think what you're saying, and you talk about this unification quite passionately. And what I understand from that is you're hinting at having a single data engineering platform, which is capable of bringing in all types of data at all frequencies, at all times. Doesn't matter is structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, real-time data, batch data, whatever that data is, everything should be able to bring in with one tool. Is that right? When you say unification? Yeah, and that's the key. And I think we all have seen, and our listeners would agree that they kind of get caught up in the spaghetti of data engineering tools, right? Any given organization could have 5 to 6 data engineering tools at one go. And just to kind of elaborate more in terms of those problems they lead to, then is you need to have those 5, 6 different teams to manage those tools.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, when business wants some data, then all these teams are kind of, crunching the data manually.
Yeah.
And that brings out the topic of the automation.
Yeah.
What a wonderful world would that be when you are having this unification done, and then you are able to automate your data workflows, right? With that trust, with that governance. I think that's what you're hinting at. Yeah, absolutely. That's what the customer you're talking about ultimately achieved to do, that unify and then automate. And it's very interesting. You briefly mentioned the consumption part of it. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Definitely. So today in this fast-paced world, right, we are not looking to make decisions after 6 months. Right. We want to make decisions today. We want to take help of data to make decisions. We don't even probably want to wait for a month to get a decision. Right. What that means is once we have a unified data and once we trust that data, right, really what remains is activating that data. Right. Can I integrate all these systems where maybe real time, near real time, I get a view which allows me to actually guide to take a decision, right? And that becomes very, very important. In the Gen AI space, in the conversational AI space or focused LLMs that we are building, right? It's real time. I'm asking a question and I'm getting an answer. And so much so that I'm trusting that answer, right, as a user. So if my underlying layers are correct, right, I can really activate that data to do more. And that's where the value generation happens.
Yeah. Can you please elaborate a little bit more? This is very interesting what you're saying. You're bringing the element of Gen AI, right? And one of the challenges organizations having today is how do I integrate the Gen AI capabilities, LLM abilities, into my overall data architecture? And what do you mean by underlying LLM? So can you explain a little bit more?
Sure. When you're talking about use cases, real value is going to be driven when the conversational model understands the context, right? And when the model is fine-tuned to talk the same language, right? So if I start training the data through the metadata, which I put in place when I'm doing the unification, B, I am building data quality on top of the same metadata, right? Putting my governance framework on top of the same data. If the same metadata is used to train LLMs, it's going to do wonders, right? We will have reduced hallucinations. We will have a better set of guardrails, and that is truly integrating, these open models or LLMs into the system, right? And then, as we call it, AI native today. That's the path to go to that, I feel.
Yeah. So you're saying the unify, automate, and activate. Those are the things is more from your data architecture landscape. And we talked about the pros of that. And then you're saying that the base of that is the metadata and LLM integration to kind of complete the picture to bring the LLM into your day-to-day.
Correct. And we were talking about some of these challenges, right? And we called out 5 key challenges. So if you really look at Unify, we're talking about a single view. What it means is your data might still reside into multiple data marts, multiple sources. But as a consumer, or as an input to your AI, it's a single view. Right. So that's the unification we are talking about, which solves the first 2 challenges that we are really talking about. Right. The second, the next 2 challenges, which was more on the data quality, right, and data governance, comes from the automation part. Because you literally, with the scale of data, cannot manually do that today, right? As you're saying. So that's the automation part. And third is when you integrate this really nicely, you can really get closer to understanding the total cost of ownership, because now you know what it takes to build this system, what it takes to manage and maintain this system, and at a long run, what are the key components, key resources, key people I'll need to keep it running and keep building.
Yeah, no,
right?
very interesting. I'm loving this conversation. It feels like we're putting jigsaw pieces, puzzle pieces together, right? But just to add one more complexity to this, right? So when you talk about consumption, in my mind, yes, there are business users who are going to consume the data for their analytics purposes or BI purposes or advanced analytics purposes or AI, whatever. That is one part of it, right? The second part of it is maybe your applications need to consume
Yeah.
some of those data sets,
Yeah.
right? And now with AI, so many apps getting built on daily basis. So in this gamut, what we are talking about, where does that layer come in, and how that can also become part of your overall enterprise data architecture?
Yeah. So I think when you talk about multiple applications talking to each other, I think that is where agents that are coming
Yes.
into play are very, very key, right? And agents, in so many words, play a part of activating data, right? They play a part of moving data from one application to another application, right? So if you have your unified layer in place, if you have your overall data quality in place, having an agent talking to multiple applications, right, and then giving an output to the user generates value. Otherwise, you're still figuring out if the agent is talking to the right systems, getting the
Yeah.
right data, and getting the right output. So that's first, right? So somewhere in between, I would say the automation and activation is comes in. I would say LLMs and agents and all that, right? There are means to consume data, and a lot of analytics nowadays is moving from charts to literally talking to the data
Yeah.
real time,
Absolutely.
right? More and more people want to do that, and all these challenges come along the way with that, right?
Yeah.
So I feel to answer your question, somewhere between in all of these frameworks,
Yeah.
somewhere between automation and activation, I think agents play a very key role,
Yeah.
right? Talking to multiple systems, and then comes the underlying infrastructure.
Yeah.
So one of the key things that we have to keep in mind while we are building this architecture of unify, automate, activate, right, that this architecture should be a cloud agnostic. It should work on any clouds that are available today, and it should also work on prem, because all said and done, due to regulatory compliances, still today there are a lot of enterprises who want their data on prem. So that's a key difference, because we don't want to go into a situation after a couple of years where the architecture that we have just put together is no more serving the purpose, right? So that's one key thing.
Very true. And now it really feels the picture is complete. With Unify Automate Activate, having your metadata integrated with your LLMs, having agentic architecture to consume the application layer, and then you're talking about all of this can be on-prem or can be on any of the clouds. That truly feels a complete picture, and it's exciting how it unfolded for one of our customers, right? And I would say it's possible when organization leadership is also empowered and are open to new ideas, right? Talking about organizations, talking about being open, one question comes to my mind is, if I'm a CDO, I'm starting a new job, or I'm in the middle of the data architecture, data centricity initiatives, and if I'm deciding to revisit the whole thinking aspect of it, where do I start? What we talked about is great, and at the same time, to make it very specific for my organization, if I had to think of a couple of questions to as a starting point, what would those be?
Yeah, I think the first that comes to my mind, any CDO would like to get an answer to is, can he trust the data? He or she trust the data, right? Can their consumers trust the data? And these consumers could be in-house within the organization, or could be people who are outside the organization. So that is the first one, right? Data quality and data trust, right? The second one is, are you ready? Is your data ready? Is your overall data infra ready to drive business outcomes, right, through your data initiatives and data strategies? I think these are the two important questions I feel any studio would like to know, right? But I would like to get your view on this as well.
Yeah, I think one question comes to my mind is defining what is going to be my operating model in the future. And what I mean by that is, am I going to revolve around BI from a consumption perspective, or I'm going to move to advanced analytics, or I'm also going to embrace the AI,
Yep.
right? Because that changes the behavior of the users,
Yes.
and hence the data architectures, and hence the data teams, right?
Yep.
So that kind of dictates a lot of things. So deciding on operating model is very, very important.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, we are talking about rethinking the data strategy. We are thinking about how I can build this architecture. All of this is for only one reason, right? I want to make organization data centric.
Yes.
And what does that really mean? And I think based on various conversations we have had with our customers, I would call out 4 things that defines being a data centric organization, right? Number one is, am I truly able to handle and process data in real time? Am I able to prioritize data governance, data security in the overall theme of things when it comes to data? The third is, am I able to handle data sets as data products with highest level of trust, so that business users can consume that data, right? And the last but very important one is, am I able to embed the data in every decision making, every process, or every interaction I have with my employees or with my customers, right? So yeah, I think that's what I would say as a third point, operating model.
Amazing. Well, that's one of the most important points again, right? Great.
Yeah, I think with this, we kind of cover the whole topic from various aspects. It was very exciting to have this conversation. Thanks, Rishi.
Thank you, Bharat. It was fun.